Taking high-quality listing photos of your rental property can be one of the most important things you do while marketing your unit. Today, a prospective tenant wants to see a good-looking unit, and if you have low-quality photos, they'll be a lot less likely to want to view it and apply. Today, we have DSLR cameras with detachable flashes that do a really good job, but you could use a smartphone to get decent pictures as well. So we're going to give you a few quick tips to help you take good quality photos of your rental unit for online listings. Tip number 1 is choose a good time of day. Try to pick a time and day that works well for the unit. You want to try to get sunlight hitting the front of your rental property so that the exterior pictures will be the best looking. You'll also want to get pictures usually during the middle time of the day, around noon, so that you get as much light coming in through the windows as possible. This will help brighten up every room and all the spaces so that you get a good shot for each area. Tip number 2 is to turn on all the interior and exterior lights for the property. Making sure the lights are on in each room can really help your rooms pop. You'll be able to feature some really cool lighting that you might have, and things will look a lot brighter and more attractive. You want to make sure that all the light bulbs are working so that you don't give an impression that the unit has things that don't work. Tip number 3 is to clean up any messes or distractions at the property. You'll want to bring a rag or towel to make sure that you can wipe up any small messes that may have been left by previous vendors or companies entering your unit. But you'll also want to make sure that you hide anything that might be distracting to the viewer, things like soap dispensers or extra things on the fridge. This way, your unit will look as clean as possible and it will look best online. Tip number 4 is to use an external flash for your DSLR camera. This will only be applicable if you're using a DSLR camera and not a smartphone. When using this flash, you'll want to make sure that it's pointed up toward the ceiling. If you also have a diffuser or something to put on top of it, that's a great idea to make sure that the light is shining throughout the entire room. When the light flashes, it will bounce off the ceiling and light up the entire room to make it a lot more bright and appealing. Here are some examples of how photos look with and without an external flash. Tip number 5 is to use a wide-angle lens if you're using a DSLR camera. This wide angle can really help capture the corners of each room. You'll want to make sure that you zoom all the way out so that you can capture as much as possible. This will really help in small situations like in bathrooms, laundry rooms, or other small rooms so that you can show off as much of the room as possible. Here you'll see an example of what it looks like when using a wide-angle lens as opposed to a standard lens for a DSLR camera. Tip number 6 is to position your camera correctly. You'll want to make sure that you get in the corners of each room so that you can crouch down a little bit and get as much of the room as possible. You might want to take all of your listing photos on a tripod. This will create a really consistent look at the same level. You'll also want to try and line up the vertical lines in your photos. That means that if there are appliances, cabinets, walls, or door frames, you can line those up with the sides of the frame of the camera so that they're even, and that way there won't be any distorted images. You want to take as many of your photos as possible in the horizontal or landscape position. If you do need to take something vertically or in portrait mode, you'll want to make sure that you change your flash accordingly. Most flashes can adjust themselves so that they're still pointing at the ceiling. This is also really important if you're using a smartphone. You'll want to still make sure that you're trying to take as many pictures as you can in landscape mode. When taking listing photos in bathrooms, things can get a little tricky when there are mirrors showing your reflection or the camera's reflection. Try to position yourself so that you're kind of out of the frame and a little bit to the side or even below the mirror. That way it won't show you or the camera in the listing photo. Honestly, some of the best angles for photographing a bathroom can be when you're standing in a really tight corner or even the shower, like this. Tip number 7 is how to use a smartphone to take pictures of your rental property. Smartphones can sometimes be a little tricky for listing photos because you might not be able to get the wide angle that you can with a DSLR camera. You also will be hard-pressed to find a way to use an external flash to brighten up your photos. However, a lot of these suggestions are still applicable. Make sure that you're positioning your camera correctly, turning on your lights, and choosing a good time of day to take your photos. If you have any questions about how to take listing photos for your rental property, please contact us. We'd be happy to answer those and help you out in any way that we can. If you found this video useful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, share it with a friend or someone who might have a rental property of their own. We'd love to connect with you, so please contact us with any questions.